Alrighty. And oh, Denise, I'm sorry, I accidentally put your hand down. I didn't mean to do that. And Nancy had her hand up, followed by Denise. I'd love to hear from everyone. I'm not trying to change the topic or anything like that. I just want to give the ladies who've been patiently waiting an opportunity to speak. And yeah, let's get everyone's perspective on this. This is a great conversation. So go ahead, Nancy, followed by Denise. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. These are fascinating discussions, and I don't know what to, don't to think. I think anyway. But my comment was, seems to me that it's more a matter of consciousness and how money is used than eliminating it altogether. Because I could see starting out with no money, but then it would seem to me that humanity would switch back to some kind of a system, because money originally was supposed to be objective, and the value that we put on it. And in what made money bad is how it's been used and the people that accumulate it. Like you were just saying, something like 20% of the people own 80% of the wealth. It's probably a conservative figure. I think it's more like 10% of the people own 90% of the wealth, And in one example is how, we have, staying in place, and how we have the luxury of self-quarantining, and there's millions and millions, maybe billions of people in the world that can't do that, or people that have no option but to take public transportation, and they have to stay in their jobs, and they can't just order things to, for delivery and to go. So we, even in this self-quarantining stage, we have a lot of luxuries that most other people don't have. And I'm thinking, like, I'm giving some money and I can't really, like, quote unquote afford it. I have some credit card debt. I have very fixed income, but I'm still giving what I can to charities and to, there's a fascinating discussion that Silas was on earlier today with a group called the Vegan Justice League. So, and I think it's a good point, the collapse of civilization. I mean, I can't see any other way for this to end, but for things to collapse, and it's going to be, a lot more people are going to die and kind of all be, brought to our knees. It seems like that could definitely happen in my lifetime. I don't know, but fundamentally, I think there's issues of justice, and I think even before we, try to figure out how to live without money, how can we live to get along and imply justice in our lives, and I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nancy.
Can I respond?
Well,
Okay.
Denise has been waiting for quite a while. So
Yeah.
rather than this be somebody comments and then Adam responds, let's just let it be a conversation where we're all kind of a level playing field here. Is that fair, Adam?
Yeah. Whatever.
I actually wanted to respond 4 conversations ago, and I just put up my hand up. I want to respond to you, Adam, 3 conversations ago, Steve, 2 conversations ago, and Nancy as well, 2 conversations ago. So, yeah, the one thing that I designed when one of my systems is that when we have these conversations, we actually use a talking stick, and each person gets a certain amount of time, and it goes around in the circle, because definitely, and one thing that I've been working on, because I struggle with remembering what I'm going to say a lot of times. So keeping that in mind is one thing to do, is like put in notes, because when you're in conversation, like Steve comes from Washington, D.C., a lot of conversations here in California, people interject and interrupt each other, and I never do well in that, because that's not my system.
Can I just, I'm sorry, I got to say something.
Adam,
just one second.
I had to mute Adam. Denise is talking. Adam, we have rules here, and I think they're fair. And Adam, you've had the lion's share of the microphone for the last, I don't know, hour and a half. You're now the 1% with 90% of the microphone, and it's not fair. So Denise,
It's 7 or 8 to 1.
all right, no, Adam, please don't interrupt, okay? Please don't. And if you need to take a break, that's totally fine. But we're not going to turn this into mayhem. Go ahead, Denise. Carry on.
I was just saying that I'm not saying that was necessarily happening here, but I guess it kind of did. But I was just saying that the system that I was doing is that we each have a talking stick, so we each get a share of the conversation, and that means we all have share of the communication. But that wasn't what I was going to comment on. What I was going to comment on, the idea of money coming out and not being a part of how we interchange and exchange. And like Steve was talking about, that money is a communication system, and like what I was talking about, it's a value system. A promissory note is merely a note that says, I owe you this, or this is worth, what you gave me is worth that. So right now, Adam, you've had a wonderful conversation, and I'm replying to your worth with my worth. So I want to put my worth in, but if I'm going to be cut off, then I can't put my worth in. So that's kind of like a little bit of an energy exchange, or if you want to call it money, my conversation is worth money by giving you my worth. So as a woman in this intellectual world who does not like to debate and who does not like to have people interrupt me, and Steve knows this very well because he's my good friend, and that I also have worth that I want to bring into the system. So my worth as a feminine voice, that I think also Nancy pointed out in the chat below, is talking about consciousness. And this is something that me and a few other females and some males who get it have been working on, is the idea of consciousness as the way that life relates. And in my own consciousness, I'm looking at my own energy system and the exchanges that happen in my own energy system, where the information is coming from, why I am putting certain kind of ideas and feelings into the system of my worth and the world around me. And I am talking about worth because there are different kinds of feeling zones that we can live by, and the worth that the value we put to that feeling zone about whether we're going to add it to the world or not is based on some kind of qualifying system that's not based on quantity, but is based on quality. So money has turned into the basis of quantifying system that has forgot quality. So I think that you might be discussing this, Adam, on a level of saying no money, but I'm saying, what are you saying then? Or what is our exchange? What is the symbol? Do we do something without symbols? You know, do we not have names? Do we not have categorization? Do we get rid of nouns? The Native American lores were about verb, action. They often didn't have nouns in their language like we do. In the English language, it's based on nouns, which is based on objects, which, you know, in the Internet of Things is going to objectification, and money itself is an object. So we're exchanging objects. Money is an object, but consciousness is more of a feeling experience, which also can be objectified and gamified. And that's what we're looking at right now, coming from the existing system of having lived in economic experience throughout time. We are now modeled through many revolutions of how we exchange life with life. And yes, you're right, Adam, it hasn't been working. So a lot of us are talking about what is conscious. How am I being conscious in the moment? And we're on a deep healing trajectory paradigm. And so for me, as a woman who did not have a voice for so long because people interrupted me and I was abused, I am saying, yo ho, hold on. I have this thing inside of me, and it's not just you or this, it's just everything. I'm working on my own healing of coming out and bringing my value. And I feel like because I haven't brought my value to the world, it's suffered. And I think that the 80% of the people that are not being able to bring their value to the world are suffering. And we are suffering because we are not receiving the value of the people of the world who have so much energy, so much love, so much heart to give. And yes, those voices need to be heard, seen, and felt. And all of our pains that we have, that we're having contracts and bonds and agreements upon, we need to shed those pains and start having bonds and contracts that are more based on love and exchange of thriving that we enjoy. But that, again, is an economic kind of system of exchange. So this is what I'm interested in hearing, what you're talking about, the no money, because I still see it as like, I'm actually I'm going to exchange love, or I'm going to exchange pain. And as a consciousness paradigm shifter and light worker, or whatever people want to call it, I'm into creating consciousness paradigm where we're exchanging light for light, love for love, and we're saying that other stuff, that pain, that greed, I don't want that. And if I see it in me and I'm exchanging it with you, that's not what I want. So how can we shift this and change that? I'm not sure if that's what I wanted to say, but it's my moment. Thank you for listening.
All righty. Love everything that both of you have said, Nancy and Denise. And Adam, don't get me wrong. I love you, brother, and you know that. And we've hung together plenty. So, I also really like what Denise said about the talking stick thing. And I would like it to be a bit more egalitarian. So here's something I'd like to propose, just as a possible way to kind of get at least part of the way towards what Denise is suggesting, albeit not perfectly. But let's give folks, like Denise just spoke for a few minutes, and I think it was wonderful, with no limit, right? She's got plenty of talking stick left. Okay, Adam, you've used up a ton of yours, so I'd like to propose maybe a 2-minute limit on your comments, Adam. And if someone who hasn't spoken yet or hasn't spoken in a while has something to say, then they would not be subjected to that limit. Because does that sound fair?
Can I just
not yet, Adam. Actually, I'm talking now, and
okay.
I wanted to kind of poll people and see how do the rest of the folks in the room feel about what I propose. Maybe just give a
Before you poll, can I please say something?
To mute you again, and I'm sorry to do that. I don't like to mute people, but if you're going to continue interrupting me or anyone else, you simply can't. There are rules here, and interrupting is a violation of those. So please, I wanted to just kind of poll people quickly. Do you like this idea of those who have talked a lot, maybe get a limited budget when it's their turn to talk, and we'll just pass the stick around so we can go around and around, but people who haven't spoken yet or haven't spoken very much can get more talking stick. Please give me a thumbs up if you like that idea, a thumbs down if you don't, and a thumb sideways if you're like, wait a second, I've got a question. And of course, you don't need to vote. Voting is not mandatory. So anyway, okay, good. I see some sideways thumbs. All right, well, that's great. That means that I certainly haven't hit it on the head. Emery says yes, therefore it's a good idea. Okay, it's a go. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Can you repeat what the vote is on? Can you repeat what?
Yeah. The vote was on. So Denise had proposed that essentially, like, everyone kind of have sort of like a budget for how many minutes they can burn. When they've got the talking stick, they're kind of burning through their budget, whether it's 10 minutes, 15, or whatever, depending on the number of people and the length of the meeting and all those good things. Okay. Since I'm not quite ready to implement that right now, I think that would, might require some technology or some more discipline on my part that I don't care to exert right now. So I wanted to propose sort of a hybrid system where someone like Adam, who's spoken a lot so far, maybe gets a ceiling of 2 minutes, right, per comment. But someone who hasn't spoken yet or hasn't spoken very much wouldn't be subjected to such a limit. Maybe they'd have, I don't know, a 5-minute limit or whatever we'd agree to. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts on that. And what I'm going to propose right now Stephen, love to hear your thought. Adam actually wanted to share his. Adam wanted to comment first. So I'm just gonna, but let's make these quick comments about process. In other words, I don't want half an hour dialogues about process. I'm going to cap it at 1 minute for comments about process. Adam, followed by Stephen, followed by Cesare. Go ahead, Adam. You got a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Okay.
Yeah, Melissa. So where are you in the Adam, Stephen? Okay, let's say Adam, Stephen, Melissa, and then Cesare. Okay, Adam, you got a minute. Go for it.
Okay, right now we're discussing what I'm proposing. I'm hearing a whole lot of people just saying stuff that's, so it basically what I'm hearing is everybody is coming up saying stuff that I'm not saying. And so it's like, I got like 8 people that are all talking against what I'm saying. You're not learning what I'm saying. That's why I need a moment to respond to each person and then just, you know, I only need 30 seconds or so. And then you can go on to the next person, because you're just going to keep saying stuff that it's going to be 10 to 1. And I'm not going to be able to say anything, and I'm not going to be understood.
Okay.
And it was Stephen's turn, but Melissa's asking, she just has a burning thing, so
Stephen,
go for it.
would you
Go
be
ahead. Go ahead.
And if not, I'm fine with that.
He's good.
Hi, everybody. Really interesting conversation. Thank you for all your inspiration and insights. I was on a Rebel Wisdom workshop, which was absolutely fantastic a few days ago. I think, Nolan, you were on the same one. And what they did was they had conversations where everyone got to speak for 5 minutes. And there was deep listening going on. And Adam, sweetheart, people don't need to get you. Not everyone's going to understand you. That's not your problem. You get to, wait, just hang on with me, okay? You get to deliver your message, and whether someone understands you or not is not your problem. You just got to keep playing your music. But also, I think it's important that you allow each individual their turn to speak. It doesn't have to, you know, to do this deep listening. We can't have this repartie back and forth of aggressive conversation. It will just go in a spiral. So what we did is we did 5 minutes of deep listening to a speaker where we said really nothing. And then we asked the speaker, would you like us to question you? Would you like us to give you a reflection? Or would you like us to give you advice? And the speaker got to choose. And the listeners responded according to what the speaker asked for. And that was it. And after that happened, it was the next person's turn. I really loved this system. So I want to propose that we try that.
I love it. Let's hear from more folks on process. I think this is super productive. Mayra, welcome back. Great to see you. And Nolan, welcome back. All right, Stephen, go for it.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking when your proposal was getting a little complex, and the challenge is that you need to, these are long discussions, so you need to keep the process simple for you and for everyone else. I do like the talking stick that Denise has proposed, that we take turns going around. I like what was, sometimes people have more complex statements and may need a little extra time. That maybe at the end of their flat time period, they request if they may have another time, and if people can raise hands and give them another dose. That would, but at least everyone gets their turn. Question and answer thing, I think, is really, really nice to, what people want to ask questions or hear more is a good interjection. So I like that. But yeah, just my general statement is, if you can keep your thing to one time, so you're just pushing the same button as a moderator, and we go around in turns so everyone feels it's fair and they get to put their little shot in. That's basically it for me.
And Stephen, let me ask a clarifying question. So would there be a time limit per speaker? If so, what?
I think the time limit makes it's either you have a time limit, or people start putting their hands on their head and we're full, we need the shift.
Yeah.
And that kind of default to the moderators saying, well, it looks like people are ready for you to move on, and then we shift to the next person.
I love it. Okay, so if there's a majority who are doing this, Hand on
Right.
top of the head.
Yes,
That
great.
means I'm full now. Thank you. Please turn off the soft serve machine. Um, and okay, good.
I love it. I want some soft serve. And
Okay,
I'm
let's-
vegan,
Can
so
I ask a question?
Okay, and let's see. No, so I'm ready to vote on that. I also want to hear from Cesare first, and quickly on
I'm
process.
done.
But I'm digging what you're saying, Stephen. Did you have more to say, Stephen, or are you good?
No, I just said, so one of the other techniques is that when the person is done, let's say they end before their end of their allotted time, they say, I'm done. And then, or everyone knows, okay, it's time the next person gets their turn. We don't have to wait or anything like that, or can be confused.
Okay,
Can-
but
can
still,
I
no
ask a
time limit.
question?
Only when people start to do this, does the moderator, in this case me, interject at the appropriate moment, feel
Right.
the room and all that, and saying, all right, that's good.
So if everyone's feeling a little full, they just do this, and then you as a moderator see, okay, I got 5 hands on head. This is really time for me to assist this person on a resting spot, so the next person can have their turn.
Totally. Okay, so we'll get back to that, because my inclination is to vote on that. I'm feeling some people are digging it. And Cesare, I'd love to hear from you. Go for it.
I think we should invent some kind of an accounting system where each person gets to speak so much. We could like call it money or something. No, I'm just messing. No, I just had. I've still got my mouth full. No, actually, I mean, I like that we're flexible with it, and I like how people can have long thoughts and people can interject short thoughts. I think it's just, it's fine that we count on you more to moderate the discussion, to kind of keep a balance in it. Yeah, I like that we just have a strong, focused moderator who's, just keeping track of it. And so it's not just like who can get to repeat what they want to say the most times. And, it's just make your point. And, if there's some takers, maybe we can have a little bit of a debate, but as long as everyone is conscious, as long as we have that collective intelligence about how we use our collective time, we should be applying that collective intelligence to our usage of time.
Love it. Sounds great. Sounds like we're converging. Maida, you have your hand up. We're looking at like what process would work best for.
Hi, everybody. I don't know if I came at the wrong time. I know as soon as I logged in, Adam was trying to say something, and I don't know what's going on. I was here earlier, but then I got into other meetings. I feel like it's very important for every one of us to observe each other's, well, not each other, but like us, to observe our own self and be aware whether we are trying to project the message that we are trying to share with you guys. Sometimes when we are unaware of our own self, we don't realize that we go too long and we go in repetitive cycles. I don't even think that there should be a time limit here, because we are all grown-ups, and this is more like for kids. Like, oh, your time is done, and then it makes you feel like you didn't say what you wanted to say. Like, let's say if I'm gonna speak for 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden I get cut in 1 minute because someone else was speaking for a longer time. I think it's just very important for us to do that self-observation within ourselves and realize that we are going too long or we are not speaking at all. We are grown-ups, once again, and we really need to work on that. I realize that there's a big problem with this situation. And we gotta amend it if it's possible today. If we have so much to say, grab a notebook and write, because your subconscious is telling you to put in practical what your essence is trying to bring out. So write and write and write and write for hours if you want. But share here the most important things out of all the maybe 2 or 3 papers that you got your time and wrote. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Love it, Maida. All right. Would anyone who hasn't commented on process in this last round like to comment on process? If so, yes, Denise, go for it.
I just want to say I'm going to leave in about 1 minute, but also I really liked the rebel thing, because I think that what's going on is there's multiple types of conversations going on. There's the presentation mode, like that I think Adam was in, and he didn't get a chance of saying what type of feedback he wanted. So this thing of like, do you want to be questioned? Do you want to have assistance? Or do you want to, you know, well, I forgot what the third one was. Maybe Adam didn't get a chance to choose his type of response that he wanted. And then there's also the thing where we each give 5 minutes of, okay, this is, you know, what I'm interested in contributing. And, you know, right now the subject lines are going based on what people are wanting to add to their initiative. So for instance, like Adam had his initiative, and then I worked off of his initiative according to mine. But he says I didn't understand his, but I was questioning before everyone came on what he meant by no money. And then now he got upset that I supposedly might have not understood the no money thing. So obviously more questions, more digging into what this means would work for Adam to, I think, maybe be fully understood for what he's trying to say, because there's probably some really deep content here that we could understand. So that's just, I think we should, what's happening organically is like there are different types of conversations. And Myra, I totally love the thing of we're all adults, but you know what? Adults are kids. And I'm sorry, there are different economics, different nation, different religion, different ways that people communicate. And the Western world and the top 10%, 1%, 20%, they are competitive and they interrupt. And I cannot be an adult in this where I join that club. I'm not an interrupter. It's not my style. I need to have moderators and people putting in rules. And those are depending on the types of conversations we're having. And that's, if you want to have a debate, interruptive kind of thing, I'm out. I'm not joining that conversation. I won't be there. Do not invite me. That's it. So I'm into everyone having a 5-minute holding stick, and we talk about like our initiative. Maybe that's, so we talk about like what kind of discussions we're gonna have. I have my 5-minute initiative moment, this, or you know, or I have my half an hour discussion with PowerPoint, and would you like to come? And so I think that's what we're trying to discover here. So thank you for listening, and I really appreciate your ideas, Adam. I'd like to hear more about it. I'm sorry that you didn't understand my response to it. Maybe you did, but okay. Well, anyway, so he wants to, I hope that you did. I definitely mean well. I mean well for the world. I mean well for the consciousness. I mean well for our energy. I'm sorry if you took my energy wrong. That hurts me on a certain level, but maybe you didn't. But the response is not feeling good to me right now. So I'm gonna go. I'm sure you're gonna see me again. I'd like to hear more about this idea of no money, because I don't understand it, because to me it's just a value system of how we exchange energy. And you know, when we value each other, then that is the best energy that there is, as far as I'm concerned, for the thriving earth of the 100%. I'm gonna go. I have a healing session to participate in now. So
great to see you, Denise. Thank you so much for being
Okay.
here. Come again and again and again. We'll be going for
Yay.
probably a couple more hours. So
Yeah.
and look forward to seeing you on Friday as well. Really appreciate you.
Okay.
And check out the coronahealers.org. Silas Rao's interviews all week.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing all about him from.
And Nolan or Are you guys tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
And
Mhm.
I'm on Thursday talking about art and coronavirus and the role of art.
And we have all of this in the Zoom Collective on Facebook, because I'm just on the Ring Central and the Zoom Collective on the Facebook. So
you have to go to coronavirus.org.
No,
Corona Healers.
she's asking if
Oh.
we've posted those meetings up on
Facebook.
up on
Oh, no.
the
No.
Collective Intelligence Facebook
No,
page that
no, it
Cesare
says no.
started. So, okay.
okay.
coronahealers.org.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks, guys. I might jump back in later if you guys are here later, but thank you so much for the ideas. And I'm glad I could introduce my great friend, Steve. He's very intriguing, and I can tell you're already enjoying this conversation. That's why we became such good friends. So
Very
Steve, welcome, Steve. Continue if you want. I'm going to go to my healer Zoom next. So
love you, Denise. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
thank you. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
I also got to check out, so I'll see you guys later.
Alrighty.
I got 2 hours sleep, so I'm going to go and chill out.
Alrighty. And
Love you guys.
Cesare and Adam both have their hands raised, and so does Maida. I would actually like to give priority to those who haven't spoken yet on process, because I feel like this is a really important piece, actually a foundational piece. So if you haven't spoken yet on process and you'd like to speak, by the way, speaking of which, let me just comment something that is a fundamental to our meetings, on both the Tuesday and the Friday, Saturday meetings, is no one is ever compelled to speak. So you will never be put on the spot. So there's never any pressure to speak on this topic or any topic. Having said that, if you would like to speak and you haven't yet on process, please do. And then we'll give the other folks kind of a second bite at the apple.
I'll just support Steve's I'm full. I like that. And also keeping it simple, I think, is incredibly important. And we might need additional process for we'll keep running into scenarios that challenge us. That's what I'm thinking. And I guess we should keep it minimal until cross the bridge when we get there, kind of deal.
Good stuff, Nolan. Thank you. Thank you. All right. James has his hand raised. Go for it, James.
Right, yeah, I'm just going to stick my tuppence in work in there now because I haven't spoken and I know you want everyone's opinion. Basically, I'm just going to say that we already had, like, on the block party, we already have a kind of an established set of basic rules anyway for the talking and the time allowed, depending on the number of people in the room. Obviously, we either go up or down on that time, that's good. And if anyone goes, but there's been some good suggestions anyway as well that can be added to that. Those rules is what I'm saying. So they're all helping. I'm only saying that the confusion, I'm going to just reiterate what I said earlier. The confusion here now, what's happening here now, because I've been here from the start, is that prior to the meeting starting, which had an agenda, Jamin was in the middle of a nap because he had been busy all day. So Nolan was managing the meeting for the initial start of it. There was no recording going on, so the discussion about vegan came up while there was no recording going on. Then they started recording because it started getting interesting until Jamin came back into the conversation afterwards, which I thought was then going to go back to the agenda. But the conversation was interesting, so Jamin left the floor. And anyway, if between the jigs and the reels is what I'm saying, is that the conversation went around. And when there was another break taken, Adam had some time while there was no recording going on, to maybe do some recording of his own or chat about, you know, his idea. While he was doing that, there was some newcomers to the platform then, and so they weren't really sure what the topic of conversation was, so they assumed Adam's topic of conversation was the topic of conversation, but it wasn't really. There was an agenda initially, which we never got around to. Again, I'm reiterating, I'm from Ireland, so it's really late here, and we still haven't gotten to the initial agenda, which is grand. I'm not saying anything about that, but I'm just saying, as more people came along, which is good, the conversation slightly got straight tonight, and that's where the confusion came in. That's all I'm saying, really, basically. I understand Adam's frustration, because Adam was kind of getting the chance to have he was asked the question and he was having an explanation, and then some more people came along and wanted to have, were interested in what he was talking about in the latter half of this conversation. And, as more people came in, we decided to go into the conversation about, how long do we have this, allow each other to talk and what have you. So I see Adam stating his frustration over something with a hatchet anyway, so it's probably a good thing. He should probably take off one of those earphones and let out some steam as well, Adam, I think, myself. But point is that it's just a bit of confusion in the conversation tonight. Everything I've been hearing is good, but we still haven't gotten to the main agenda, and that's grand. That's okay too. I'm just saying that we more or less have now a good rules established anyway as regards to who speaks, and there's no harm adding to those as well. That's a good idea as well. I think it's a very good idea, actually. So just to clarify, that's all I'm saying. I have no problem with any rules that are established, as long as there's a flow of conversation going on, and I respect what everybody has to say anyway. So, and I have patience to listen if they want to talk a little further. So, whatever, you know what I mean. But just there was a little confusion tonight. That's all. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you, James. Great stuff, and welcome back, Jackie. We're having a conversation about process here, and rules and time limit and talking stick and all that. So if you'd like to comment on that, please feel free to do so. I'm trying to give everyone at least an opportunity to speak. There's never any pressure to speak, as you well know. Would anyone else like to comment on process or rules who hasn't spoken yet? Cesaria, I see you got your hand up. So does Adam. So does Maida. I just wanted to give, and so does Stephen. I'm going to let Stephen go next, just because he's our first time guest, and I want to give him. Go ahead.
Really brief. This is kind of different because it's a rolling meeting. It's people jump in and jump out, and that was one of the things that was just touched on that I thought that recap was really helpful for me. And I was thinking if there's maybe some way that there's a pinned note or something that would say this is the current discussion, and also reiterated the rules of the forum, that could help someone jumping in to know how to calibrate themselves before getting tangled into the talking, receiving piece of it. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, really good stuff. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. This is actually the first Tuesday Solution Club meeting in quite a while that I haven't been totally 100% on time, on the ball, and moderating pretty much all the way through. Today was a really weird day because we literally got up at 4 a.m. and went to what we call the mainland, America, because we live on an island. And so we had to go to America and do a bunch of stuff. And anyway, that's all stressful these days with Corona and everything. So anyway, today was very unique. And but it also gave us an opportunity to surface some of this stuff that I think is so important. One of the things I really like about the 5-minute idea is, and then, if you want more time, you ask for it. Or if you're seeing a lot of this, you don't get more time, and that's okay too. But what occurs to me as one thing we could try literally right here, right now, is essentially do what Stephen proposed, right? Have kind of a soft ceiling of 5 minutes, and then if people are doing this, it becomes a harder ceiling, and etc. But what I like about that is let everyone talk about what they think is most important, and what they think we should be focusing on. In other words, what does an individual think that the collective should be focused on? That seems like a pretty exciting question to me, actually. Anyway, it looks like everyone who's wanted to talk has done so. So I'm gonna let. Oh, it looks like Adam. I was about to ask Adam to chime in, but I think he left. He had written a comment about that if we didn't let him talk, he was going to leave. So anyway, that's too bad. In that case, Cesare and Mayra have had their hand up. So go ahead, Cesare, followed by Mayra, if I'm getting the order right, which I hope I am.
So different processes are good for different groups. I mean, you might have a group of people who know each other well, who understand how they think, and so they might want to use that 5 minute, and they all just listen. But where it's probably better if it's a set group where everybody's there from the beginning. If it's like a 2-hour meeting, okay, we have 12 people. Let's let everyone talk for 5 minutes. Let's go twice around or something. But if you have people coming and going, there are all kinds of factors here to consider. I know this one philosophy group here that meets in Wrocław. I kind of like what they do, but I also kind of don't. They have this rule where people raise their hand, they put themselves on a list, and they get to speak until they're done speaking. And frankly, they say some really stupid, boring shit. I mean, it's people, because people know that they're going to be have to listen to other people talk forever, then they feel like they have to talk forever, and then they're not really contributing that much value. They're really just trying to drag out. Hopefully that they're going to think of something clever. So that's not necessarily a good thing. I think it's, you got to be careful with that. And especially when you have let's just say some people, just are crazy. They're just going okay. One other thing is, I think we should be, first of all, we should be staying closer to the agenda, and the moderator should be really focusing on maintaining that. It's fine to deviate as long as, okay, let's have this little talk off to the side for a few minutes, but then, okay, let's come back to what we're really supposed to be doing. So to kind of allow for that. But then the other thing with this whole idea of collective intelligence, we don't have to be solving every problem. We don't have to be having every discussion right here. I think we really need to be employing this idea that there are multiple conversations happening, maybe not all the time, every hour, but hey, some of these conversations can be had at a certain place at a certain time. Somebody is organizing a meeting for that, and let's do that. And so let's use this as a hub to kind of connect people with these people that are doing the things. So let's, if somebody really wants to talk about their thing, give them like a few minutes to say, hey, this is what we're doing. And of course, we're cycling a lot of people. People are coming, people are going. So maybe periodically, you can allow for that as a moderator. I mean, I'd like to do that. Probably Adam would like to do that. Well, I'm trying to tell the guy he should be making his own show, his own program, his own meeting, where him and people who are interested in what he's discussing can explore his ideas. And so, yeah, I think if we're making that opportunity for specialization, that's going to ease the burden, ease the pressure on the conversations that are happening here. Yeah, well, I can't think of anything else. I suppose I should just stop. So.
Very good, very good. Maida, you've been patiently waiting. Go for it.
I definitely agree with what is her name? Denise.
Yes.
To have that 5 minute of time of conversation within each of us, but not to wait for someone else to tell us to ring the bell and to say our time is over. Like, we have to be aware that 5 minutes were given to us. And just have a watch or have a clock right in front of you, and no, be aware of when is your time over and respect that. We are all different here. We are all different worlds. We think differently. A lot of them are very emotional. A lot of them maybe very rebel, like myself, and I don't get butthurt with things like this. But yeah, I definitely agree with Denise. And what I was trying to say at the beginning is just be self-aware of that you have that time and you have to respect it and let other people speak. Give them the chance to do so. Thank you.
All righty. Well, I'm gonna ask Steve to articulate a precise proposal that we can vote yes or no on, if you're willing. If not, I'm happy to do that.
Oh, I probably would type it. I think I'm hearing quite a bit around, coming in, I didn't get a clarity that there was a focused topic. I was kind of brought in also that there wasn't really a focused topic. So I wasn't sure how this operates, so that I don't know if Zoom can let you pin a note or something like that. But if there's a way of doing that, having the moderator say, this is the, post that this is the topic, then that allows me to come in. It also reminds everyone else this is sort of the focus, the general focus area. I like the 5-minute rule. Taking turns in Zoom is kind of strange because all the windows sort differently on different people's screens. So it probably, again, would be the moderator listing the names in what order they go in. I think it's good if we have it is good if we can keep our own time, because again, it's really nice to take that work off of the moderator, especially in a long meeting like this where he goes to the bathroom and all of a sudden, it starts reeling its own new life. So yeah, I think just, the self-moderation is good. And the moderator says, wait a minute, you cleared your 5 minutes, and people are putting their hands on their head to say they're up. So move to the next. And that's basically it. I don't think and then when someone's done speaking, you can say thank you or say I'm done or next or something like that, but let everyone know you've wrapped up. That's all I see. Let me know if there's any holes in that.
Sounds good to me. Any holes anyone sees? All right, are we ready to vote? Thumbs up if in support, thumbs down if opposed, and thumb to the sideways if you're either neutral, confused, have a question, or whatever. Okay, I see a couple sideways from Nancy and Jackie. Jackie, you want to let us know your question, and followed by Nancy.
I'm curious, and this may have been discussed already, about the agenda items. Like, how is the agenda developed? And then as collective intelligence, if we visitors come to contribute, then is there a way to let you know ahead of time? I'd like to add something to the agenda. Is that something that we do during the meeting so that we can keep pace, so that we can notify people in the waiting room? Like, I'm just questioning about the agenda items.
Yeah, very good. Well, what I traditionally do is, this is just the way the cookie crumbles, is I send out the a reminder to everyone the night before with a proposed agenda, and I say, please bring your own agenda items. And then at the beginning of the meeting, we discuss it. All right, is there anything anyone would like to add to the agenda? Okay, great. And then we get into it. And the way it's worked in the past is the agenda is sort of like a guideline and it kind of becomes the starting point for a conversation, and then the conversation goes where it goes. Today was, again, a very weird day, so it just didn't happen that way. And we've ended up having a conversation about process, which has been super cool. So that's my answer. Does anyone else want to comment relative to Jackie's question, comment?
Unfortunately, Cesar just stepped out and he had a thumbs down, which would have been interesting to hear.
Oh, I think he can still hear us. He's still in the room. So we'll hear from Cesare. Meanwhile, Nancy, did you have something you want to add?
Okay, hi. I kind of see both points of view being like, we can be self-limiting or to have a moderator step in. And so I'd like to propose that we have the standard of being self-limiting, saying, okay, there's so many people, we have so much time, and each person gets, let's say, 5 or 6 minutes to say their initial thing, and then you move on, and then let's say out of the 10 people, only 4 want to talk, then you can cycle back to the other people, and then people can raise their hands. So we do need a moderator, but sometimes we all get very passionate about what we're doing, and it's easy to forget that much time has gone by. And I know when we first started these, I suggested actually to Jamin that he step in and exercise some moderation, because there are some people that do speak longer and they have a lot to say, and it's valuable. But I think that in terms of having a democracy, and just like we're talking about the possibility of no money or a different economy, and I brought up the subject of consciousness, because unless it's the same thing. How do we establish a democracy with time? How do we establish a democracy with ideas? And that I never in any way meant to discredit what was being presented. I just had another thing I wanted to add in. So I apologize if I sound like I was discrediting, because I would love to get rid of money. I think food should be free. Freaking grows out of the ground. You know what I mean? And there's dirt and there's air and we really shouldn't have to pay for something that just grows out of the ground and things like that. I think there's so many ways that we can improve our society, but there's just an example. So I think I'm already going over my time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nancy. Really good stuff. Cesare, you gave us a thumb down. I see you're eating, so no pressure to talk now, but whenever it's good, feel free to jump in. I just wanted to make a quick comment that as moderator, I'm used to keeping time, and so for me it's not a problem. Happy to do it. And what I often do in terms of enforcing it is when someone gets to 4 minutes, let's say it's a 5-minute ceiling, soft ceiling. When they get to 4, I hold up 4 fingers. When they get to 5, I hold up 5 fingers. And that doesn't mean stop. It means, hey, you're at 5, so, please. And then if they get to 6, I kind of do this. And then depending on how stringent we make it, I can either mute them at 6 or, be a little more patient. But then I really also like the idea of people, either doing this or whatever the opposite of this is. I don't know, this, no, or maybe like, yeah, like thumbs up are basically are a way of people, or this, something positive that basically says, hey, we love what you're saying. Rock on. Yeah.
I just want to interject real quick. There's a function here, go faster, and I think people should use that more often. If somebody's talking too long, just click the freaking button. And if like 5 people are saying that, then maybe people are getting tired of what you're saying. So.
Well, interesting. I mean, go faster could be interpreted in a different way, which says, hey, we love what you're saying and we just want to hear more of it. So just say more, but faster, versus this says, hey, I'm full. I'm, all right, Cesare, say what you got in mind.
No, go faster. It means you're just dragging the issue. Just get to the freaking point and just wrap it up.
Okay, so we have that button here?
Yeah, if you click on reactions, I think.
I just clicked on go faster. Does anyone see that when I clicked on? Okay, could somebody click on go faster and so we can see what you see? Oftentimes, when I'm moderator, I can't raise my hand as moderator. Everyone else can, but the moderator can't. Anyway, So I tried. Would someone please click on the Go Faster button so we can see what it looks like?
My reaction gives me two options, a thumbs up and a clap. That's my only two options under reactions.
This is the same for me. I only see those two reactions.
I already pressed the Go Faster. I don't know if you see it.
It's in the chat. It's if you click on the chat icon.
So in the manage participants, you can see it there. The entire list of people. I see Cesare, Myra, Emery, James have all clicked Go Faster. And I think that's the only place you can see it.
Maida, I'm going to mute you. So you get your... Oh, go ahead, Myra. You to speak? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you just muted yourself, Maida. You gotta go ahead.
I didn't. I wasn't aware that I left my microphone unmuted. So I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I muted it for you. That's never a problem.
Jamin.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think you should do more of a role of like, if you see some people getting into something specific, like really try to direct them. I mean, that's what this is, collective intelligence about all these different discussions happening. Like direct these people, tell these people to get a room, you know? Like if some 2 people are really going at it, or 3 people and they're really into an issue for and against, just hey, set up a call and just settle it there, you know? So that's what we should be doing. Directing these people to that. And also, I think as a moderator, I think the rules also depend on the people who are present. So you should be kind of adjusting the rules based on.
Oh yeah, no, and I do. I mean, if it's just like 4 or 5 of us, and it's just kind of very harmonious, I don't need to do anything. I just participate in the conversation. But it's particularly when things get challenging that we need rules to help us. So all right, well, look, here's what I'd like to propose. We did not get to the agenda today, and what I'd propose is that in my 5-minute segment I speak to the agenda, right? And then I just cover that in my 5-minute segment. And I say whoever would like to speak for up to 5 minutes about whatever. So the new agenda is that I'd like to propose, and feel free to thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs sideways. But the new agenda is everyone who wants to gets to speak for up to 5 minutes about what they think is most important and what they would like for humanity to focus on, what they'd like to propose that humanity focus on. It's kind of a way for each of us to basically say, hey, look, here's what I think is most important, just period, in the world right now. Like for me, it's collective superintelligence, and I'll talk about that for 5 minutes. All right. For Cesare, I can guess what it might be. For Nancy, I can guess what it might be, but I don't want to sit here guessing. I want to hear from everyone. So thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways on what I just proposed, or I could revert to the original agenda if you don't like that. I see a thumbs up from Nancy, thumbs up from Jackie, from Stephen, from Nolan. I see a mouthful from Cesare, but we normally get a mouthful from Cesare. And I see thumbs up all around. All right, well, let's do it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to let people raise their hand in one way or another if you'd like to speak first, second, third, last, whatever. If you raise your hand, you'll be top of the queue. And if no one wants to go first, I'm happy to go first. But no one is in the queue at the moment.
For some reason, I'm having trouble seeing the hands up button. I used to know where it was, but now all of a sudden I don't seem to know.
So down at the bottom, do you see where it says participants? And you see a couple of,
yes.
Okay, click on that.
Got it.
And there should be a place.
Yep, I see it. All right, cool, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty. So who would like to go first? Oh, and Stephen raised his hand. Okay, great. And did I see something from you, Cesare? Or were you just?
Cesare, okay. Did you want to go first and then I'll go after you?
Sure.
You're chewing. That may not be the right.
I mean, I'll swallow as I talk.
I'll let you go. Then that'll compose my thoughts.
So let's see who's in the room. Well, yeah, I'm basically gonna say something you've probably heard before. Although then again, Stephen, I don't know if I talked when Stephen was here. So basically, we have a new platform, networking platform. It's for people to express their ideas about anything, but generally it makes sense when that it's most effective that they're like civic oriented ideas. And so it's a stock market of ideas. And as people support certain ideas, when people support certain ideas more, those ideas rise up higher. We can show which ideas people support. And then we create political candidates who actually represent the ideas of the people. So we use that as the International Logic Party. And the goal is ultimately to win elections around the world and put people who represent people's ideas into government offices and to realize whatever issues are important to the people. So, well, it's my invitation to you and a challenge to you, because it is a challenge, because this is not easy. This is going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done. You're going to have to think like hard about what you actually stand for. This platform gives you power, but it also gives you the responsibility that comes with that power. So if you're ready for it, I invite and challenge you to come and use our platform. I'm going to send you in the group message, I'll give you a link to our website and a link to a YouTube presentation that explains how the website works. And I invite you to participate and help us, the people, take back control of all the world governments and do what the people need. So I think I'm done.
Awesome. Excellent example of concision. And thank you, Cesare, for that. And Stephen, if you're ready, please go for it. If not, we can.
Okay. Yeah, this is interesting perspectives. You know, I come from a background of creating collaborative systems, and I hear the voices about you know, redesigning our government and more autonomy and more voice, and and it still seems that we are breaking down on our ability to communicate our values, get agreement in our values in a way that we can do it. At the same time, we're in a world that all the parts are in motion, and we don't even understand the systems we depend on. And it is really hard to make judgment when you know, there's more going on than you have capacity to understand. And I think it's true with everyone, though some people won't admit it. And you know, and this all comes down to is my thought processes around been lately watching the mediums is we're having a breakdown on trust. We're in a phase in a lot of our civilizations where people, you know, the keys to the systems tend to want us to be broken down by distrusting each other. We are then reflecting that back as in distrust of the system, and we're tearing down the institutions of trust. Those are those institutions that have worked hard to try to be transparent and work in an open communication way. And there's never a total success with that, but and I think this idea that they're going to be absolute is ridiculous, but the act of not trying to improve it and build it up is what we're failing on at this point. And so as we're going down this, it's you know, we're dealing with the challenge of trust, and in the governance model where I've been thinking a lot of it is because we have lack of knowledge, lack of capacity of knowledge to absorb knowledge. That's where I got into the idea of having policy simulators where we get to use AI tools that can actually analyze from all this data, since we're producing a lot of data exhaust at this time too, at least the more wealthy of us, that we can improve the representation through policy simulation. And in that way, people can actually see the workings of a given idea or a suggestion, basically a policy, and what effect it will have on what group of people, and better give us a what if scenario in designing systems. And I think it's where I'm hearing repeat is we keep wanting to design a system, and there's no way it's going to be a perfect design, but then we really don't know who that impacts. And so we build perspectives and philosophies that make it look more perfective, but it's done by ignoring segments of our society. And when we're dealing with a simulation, people can say, I'm not represented. You have to include the data for their representation, then run the simulation to really understand the impacts. And I think that maybe having that transparent system, people can have the discussion more on the system. As I said earlier, when I first came in this call, we do not account for the workers in our society. That means the workers of all our different environmental systems, and that's got us into trouble. And so somehow in building our systems of trust, we need to figure out ways of including the voiceless, those that are participants, whether we want to admit it or not, that are participants in our life, but have influence. And I just went around and around on this because I wasn't really clear on my agenda here, but I'm going to leave it at that. To just I think the epidemic of our time beyond this virus is the epidemic of distrust, and I think we need to kind of shift our memes and our things about how do we rebuild our institutions of trust. I am done.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stephen. That was awesome. And by the way, and we forgot to do this with Cesare, and we'll come back to you, Cesare, so that we can remedy that. But Stephen, would you like to request either questions or feedback or advice? I think those were the three. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was a little wandering in that, so I guess probably questions would be better.
Yeah, great. So if you have a question, just speak up. James, I know you got your hand up. I think maybe you got your hand up for presenting your 5-minute piece, and so we'll respect that. And in the meantime, let's just go around for questions for Stephen based on what you just stated. Mm-hmm. So to be clear, if you have a question for Stephen, just ask away. I have a quick question. So you talk about being able to predict the effects of certain policies. Since everything is so interrelated, and as you pointed out, the parts are all moving all the time anyway. This is a loaded question. I believe that what we need is what I call a global holistic model, basically a model of the world, so that we can then model perturbations to whatever the default trajectory is, right? We're on a trajectory. If we make no changes, and just go, no radical changes, shall we say, then this is what's predictable. Oh, you make this perturbation, this is the predicted, impact of that. And then take it a ways further down the road, instead of individual perturbations, to quote Adam, a holistic plan, a whole plan. Hey, here's our plan for the world. What if we implemented that plan or did the best that we could? What would be the simulation of that? Anyway, that's my loaded question that turned into a speech.
Yeah, I think there's the plan for the world, and again, we came into a world that already had a balanced system. I mean, so it was balanced when we came onto this earth. We just didn't like the terms and conditions. So we decided, and we were given that 1% extra DNA over a chimpanzee and opposable thumbs, that we got to have more say. more influence in that. So now we're down the path that we're finding out, we're learning that our ideas are actually self-harmful. We are the one creature on this earth that's designed its own mousetrap. And we're, you know, and so we're not going to stop designing, but now we're talking about taking over control of everything and designing everything. And and I'm like, you know, wait a minute, what about our design skills? And so this is where I brought up, you know, we have to have better quality communication, better ability to listen to the ones that can't speak for themselves. We need to also to expand our capacity of vision. And I see simulation and AI in the terms of simulation, running the what if scenarios in a meaningful, accurate way as a method of expanding our ability to preview a design to know if it's a reasonably good idea. I'm done.
Awesome. Awesome. Great answer. Thank you, Stephen. Any other questions for Stephen? Before we go on to our next speaker, it would be James. All right, James, you got 5 minutes. And just so everybody knows, when you hit the 4-minute mark, I hold up 4 fingers. That lets you know you got about a minute left. When I hold up 5, it doesn't mean stop. It just means, hey, you've hit 5, so please wind down. And then maybe I'll just, as a policy, if you get to 6 minutes, I'll mute you. If people are doing this, I'll mute you before that. All right, or gently intervene, etc. Anyway, just wanted to state the MO. James, please take it away. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, Jim. Well, I won't keep you even 5 minutes anyway, to be honest, because I'm just, you know, same way I'm here, really. Basically, concern led me to this platform at the end of the day, concern for the way the world is going and the future of my child and family and surrounding, you know, community and the world and, you know, everything. Basically, it's all going down the tube. So it's concern that led me and brought me to this platform. Well, to the Collective Intelligence Block Party platform. This is a subsequent of that. Basically, I'm an artist by, you know, that's what I do. But I don't know exactly what it is I can contribute. I don't have any great ideas. I'm not saying that I do, and I don't have any platform or something to promote. I just want to find like-minded people and see if I can contribute in any way I can, whether that's conversing or whatever. I found this platform, Jamin's platform, the Collective Intelligence Block Party, and I've basically found I understand Jamin's dream and vision, and I think it's the way forward. And it is everything you've just been saying there, Stephen. To be honest with you, I agree exactly with everything what you just said there, and I think you'll find Jamin's platform as well to be everything what you're envisioning as well, because that's what Jamin promotes, the fact that the technologies are already there amidst us. We're just not putting them all together in the right way, to assist us, the AI to assist us with the global conversations, and where everybody has an input. Like myself, I'm not sure what it is I can contribute. I only consider myself, you know, I'm one of those people in the 80%, I suppose, you know, on the lower scale of the social order, we say, or whatever it is we call it, the economic level. But I still have a brain, and I still able to contribute and still able to have conversation with like-minded people. So that's why I'm here. So thanks.
Beautiful, James. Awesome. I'm so glad you're here. And Jackie has to go. All right. Great to see you, Jackie's sister. Any last words before you go? Feel free. Just, you got the mic.
I just want to say thank you, all of you. This is an amazing day. It started out, I'm sorry I missed a chunk of it, but it seems productive, and I feel grateful to have this community to come back to and recharge to do my work. So thank you.
Beautiful. Well, as I've said many times, it wouldn't be the same without you, Jackie's sister. Love you. All right. We'll see you soon. Take care. All right. And does anyone have any? Oh, and I kept promising to go back to Cesare. So after James, we'll go back to Cesare. James, would you like to request questions, feedback, or advice? I think those were the three that Melissa commented, or even a fourth or fifth category if you'd like.
Neither questions or feedback. Well, I mean, if you have anyone have a comment or anything on what I said, fair enough. Like, but I don't expect anyone to have anything to say about it really. But carry on if you do. I finished what I had to say, and then I basically said why I'm here. So, yeah, carry on.
Okay. So comments. Does anyone have a comment for James? Well, I have a comment. So James, so some of the words you used seem to, like you said, oh, I don't have any, great ideas or whatever. I just want to point out that you have grasped the essence, the core of collective superintelligence as I'm conceiving of it. As well as, or better than anyone else. I mean, with the possible exception of Nolan and Jamie, but I've been able to hang with them in person and whatnot. But James, from afar, you have just really zeroed in, and I just want to tell you that I appreciate that so much. That you're in the world and with us, and able to share your perspectives. And just your ability to grasp such a gigantic vision is super, it's just wonderful. So that's my comment.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Jim. Yeah, that's all I can say. I appreciate that very much. Cheers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Stephen.
I have a comment, and you're a little dismissive of your role as an artist. At least that's the way I perceived the way you said that, and that by itself is a bit of a shame, because we're in a weird place where if I go to Washington D.C., the people that I sit down who are judges and so forth, they don't understand the value of art, and the judges grab me the most because they sit in front of humanity and they witness the effects of going on, of the challenges of humanity. Yet I keep hearing, I was in this one conversation and they said, well, I don't get why we support the arts. I get why we support the sciences, but, and I'm like, and art is like our tool for human development. It's speaking into a combination of feelings and various attributes of what is it to be human and to perceive or to be perceived, and translated so others can understand that, so that, and we ourselves can understand that and develop. And that's probably our greatest deficit in this time, is we've given too much value to technology and too low of a value to human development. So I want to commend you for taking on the challenge of being an artist and to value that. We really need to value that now in this age where human development is ever more necessary. That's my comment. I'm done.
I really appreciate what you just said, Steve, and I don't think I could say that better, but totally.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well, Steve. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and it's no different here on this side of the world. Believe you me, that the arts are being trying to be squeezed out, even out of the universities and everything else. But that is because of the importance of it, the philosophical side of it. Everything that comes into art, like as you said, like without art we wouldn't have you know, we wouldn't have technology or anything else like that, language or anything else. So yeah, I agree exactly with what you're saying. I suppose I probably did sound a little dismissive of it, but personally for me, art is my life. I've always incorporated it into part of my life anyway. I've taken it as kind of a natural thing, and I only recently in the last only over a year ago, I went back to re-educate myself, and because I didn't have a second level education, and I went back to college and I got a degree in art, in fine art. But unfortunately, the experience of the college, the system, ruined it for me, ruined it, the actual getting the degree. Now, I still have the passion and the belief, I still have the love for art, but the system destroyed it because I could see from the inside as a mature student how they're destroying the minds of young, bright artists as well in that system, and they're not encouraging the art side of it at all. They're it's all being pushed now over to writing papers more so than actually creating art. So it has been destroyed from within, just like everything else. The system has been destroyed. All our free thinking has been destroyed. And who's the best free thinkers but artists? Like, so, you know, visionaries and creative people, they're the best thinkers, and they're trying to be, so everything's been subdued. So again, that's why I was led to this platform, and I believe Jamin's platform is definitely the way to go, and Cesara's platform is exactly the same thing. It's in it. They both have the same vision. They both have different ways of going about it, but they're both very, they're just the right way to go, because we do need a collective intelligence of the ordinary people on the ground to have their input. And I consider myself an ordinary person on the ground, but that's why I probably belittled myself by saying I don't have a whole lot of input. But I am one of the lower levels in society in the sense of economic wise. Therefore, I'm still emphasizing I have a brain and I can input in conversation.
So you're one of the artery people. The
Sorry?
artery. You're one of the artery people. I'm making a funny word with the you know, the thing with the lower level that's very funny is I bring up things like workers like ants. If, you know, we curse them quite a bit when they get into our food, but but without them, our soil would collapse. Our ability to grow crops would collapse. Without them, you know, we spend a lot of time understanding bees and pollination, but without these, and what drew me, what you just said in your comment, was your insecurity brought you into going to school. The school then fed your insecurity.
Again,
you became discouraged about the witnessing of how artists are being prevented from discovering themselves. So that is really interesting, and so you don't belittle. And my comment was really to not belittle yourself for being an artist or the art to analyze that and figure that piece out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and like my disillusion with the education system is not just the first time; it's the second time around, because my first experience with the education system, as I said, I never completed my first younger education. I only got to second level, and I dropped out of it halfway through that due to the economic situation and everything else. It was better to work than to continue in school at the time. But I was disillusioned about school at the time anyway, because I was born in a Catholic country where it was corporal punishment was abdicated in the schools, and I had a violent history in school, in the sense of being, beaten by brothers and things like that. Sometimes, I witnessed, things like that, and I was subjected to things like that, and obviously, we're products of our environment, and I think a lot of the product of that environment for me was that my self-worth and belief in myself was stripped. And I'm still to this day working on that. And my experience in the university that I went to, or the college that I went to just recently for 6 years, I did 2 years to get to the level of education that was required to actually get into third level education. And then I did 4 years then for the degree. But my experience throughout those 4 years then afterwards was horrendous, because it brought all that back to me again. And I was literally made to feel by, a professor who didn't agree with, well, actually, we had a saying for him. He considered us peasants and treated us as such. And from the outset was determined to fail us. And for the artwork that I produced, he barely gave me 40.5%. And that's the truth. And the only reason I got my degree was because of the other subjects I was doing and my thesis and everything else. And the other tutors and that fought for me to make sure that I got my degree. But I barely got the degree in the sense that if he had his way, because he was my main studio teacher, if he had his way, if he had his way, he would have made sure that I and a few others that he considered peasants would not have made it, because he saw we had no place in there. And that's still going on in the system to this day. That's the failing of that institution as well, because he ruined the lives of people who he didn't think were up to him or didn't want to follow his ego. I went in there with my own creativity, but he wanted me to morph into him. I refused to do that. Therefore, he wasn't going to pass me. That was the way it was. But I still got my degree at the end of the day. I stuck to my guns. And only for the fact that I did, and I had good tutors in there who stuck with me, I got my degree. But other than that, I came away with nothing but bitterness in the system again, and disheartened, and really frustrated for the younger people who have to go through that. And I saw young people lose their dreams and leave within 12 months and sometimes 2 years, whatever. They just couldn't take it. But I'm too strong-headed, you see, and I was determined for not to let him get me that way. Like. Anyway, that's beside the point. I divorced. I'm just saying that I have a lot of experience in life. Probably, in strange ways, I probably have different experiences. Obviously, they are a lot of my own friends. By the time I was 21, my friends, I should have been off with them. I was at the time, living abroad and working in England. I was at the time, but when I came back to Ireland, anyway, between the jigs and reels, I ended up a lone parent by the time I was 22, and my life changed dramatically from there on then as well. And my life became about being a parent and looking after my daughter. And that's the way I went then from then on, and I've been going on too much.
Wow, beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful in your sharing. You're just like, it's such just a contribution to us all to just hear your story. And wow, more I'm just like, wow. And Stephen, James's daughter Stephanie participates with us, and I am just so proud of you, James, as a father, for what a wonderful daughter you've raised. And I'm just so proud of you both.
Hey, I gotta get going, so I just want to say goodnight to everyone. That was an interesting experiment, because too bad I'm not gonna hear more of it. So I kind of regret that we didn't keep going faster with the 5 minutes, kind of bang it out, like get everyone to speak, faster in line. But at the same time, yeah, that was I got to know James a lot more and his perspective and his story, which I appreciated. But I have to say, like, I wasn't ready for that. You know, I was ready for like, hey, everybody say 5 minutes, and so at first I'm like, oh, this is like turning completely going off the track. But then I'm like, wait a minute, things are starting to like, James is starting to open up and tell us more about him. So then I'm like, whoa, this is actually really good. And I started listening again, and but now I have to get going. So I'll see you all later.
Great to see you, Cesare. Look forward to seeing you on Friday. All right.
Yeah, I'll see you.
See you soon.
And, hey, Steve, real quick, please take a note. I hope you and I can talk a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, if you can send me a link, like I don't know.
I shared it in the chat.
Oh, I missed it somehow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I see it now. I see it. Never mind.
you know, that's another thing about procedures. I think we should be trying to employ the chat group too a little bit. I think maybe we should be kind of trying to hybridize the discussion. Some quick comments. We should be paying attention to what's being said in the chat. And maybe the moderator should be, you know, throwing in these or making
Hello,
notes.
everyone. Thank you for joining me here today on the Agora Experience. I'm your host.
Oh, he's playing.
Oops, sorry.
We got 2 Cesares.
I clicked on the link.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, this is like the best thing that's ever happened. I've been waiting for this moment, like, to meet another person just like me. Who's me? All right, good night, you guys. Yeah, check out that video, Steve, and I hope we talk later.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Cesare. Have a good night. All right.
Yeah, see.
Looks like Nancy has something to say. Go ahead, Nancy. Or were you just waving? Okay, you're on mute. Okay, it sounds like you were just waving. That's fine. All righty. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I apologize there for going on a bit there. I don't know where that came from. I sorry about that.
Don't be. And I patted myself on the head. The when people go in the life story, I'm not sure if I initiated something everyone was willing to experience, but it was it was cool to hear someone saying, "Wow, I'm really getting to know James," and so this has turned out to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm just, it's really fascinating because you're a perfect example of someone who's taken a lemon and made delicious lemonade. Because I can just see now that out of your experiences as a kid, when you had a daughter, you were determined to give her a wonderful life. And that's obviously what you've done. And it's just like, wow. I mean, you're like one of the most inspiring father-daughter combinations I've ever seen up close, right? So, and look at the amazing work that you're doing. I mean, James is such a dedicated participant in our 24-hour block parties. I'm not sure. Do you know about those, Stephen?
No, I don't. So maybe cast me a link or something, and I'll try not to click and play it while we're.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, on radish.org, that's Radish is the organization that I have the privilege of leading, and it has 2 big weekly events. I'll just type it in here. And if you, thanks, Nolan. And the two big weekly events. One is this one, the Tuesday, we call it the Solution Club at the beginning of the New World. It's an evolution. It's been going for almost 3 years now. It started off as the Social Club at the end of the world, and it's evolved to the Solution Club at the beginning of the New World. And then on Friday, Saturday, we're on Pacific time, so from 6 a.m. Pacific time Friday morning all the way until 6 a.m. Saturday morning, 24 hours. We have a 24-hour continuous Zoom video conference, and we call it the Collective Intelligence Block Party. And we have an agenda for it that is, you know, ends up being more like a guideline because, again, these conversations go where they go. But sometimes we're pretty good at staying on topic. And it's open to anyone and everyone, just like this meeting is. I'm a big believer in these public spaces where, you know, anyone can come and participate. So between these two meetings, that's 32 hours a week that we are open to the public, and we create and hold this public space centered around both of these meetings are centered around collective intelligence and the vision of collective superintelligence, as well as cooling the planet through solar radiation management, increasing the planet's albedo, veganism, and a compassionate world, you know, a loving world, a world where we're not destroying our brother and sister species. Coronavirus, now that coronavirus is having such a massive impact on our world, you know, how do we stop the spread of the coronavirus? And all of these are, and many others, but those are kind of some of the big ones that we're most focused on. But really our focus is on solving, for lack of a better word, holistically and simultaneously all of the world's most daunting problems through application of collective superintelligence, which I haven't articulated yet, but I'll do that in my 5-minute segment. But anyway, just wanted to let you know, and both of those meetings can be found on our website, radish.org.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not just about how much value you can extract out of Zoom. It sounds really good. Thank you.
No, but interestingly enough, there is an incredible amount of value that can be extracted from Zoom and from the data that's generated. What did you call it? The data junk or data refuse? Or...
Well, in the data mining world, we call this data exhaust.
Yeah.
And people don't even realize how much data exhaust there is. Now, you actually don't have to own a computer or a cell phone or any electronic device, and you are still causing data exhaust just by living in this modern society.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've had some experience data mining, a lot more modeling and optimization and whatnot, but very comfortable with data exhaust. Anyway, so here, this is like, by analogy, a Zoom video conference. If a normal car is spewing out exhaust, this is like, you know, a car spewing out the equivalent of a Texas big top geyser. Just, you know, that's what a Zoom video conference is. Look at all the data that's being generated, right? The transcript is just the beginning, right? And this really gets to the heart of one of the hearts of collective superintelligence, and for me, by far the most important, which is what we call the conversational domain, right? And here's the best way that I know of to describe it kind of visually is, imagine there's just a giant meadow, right? And on this meadow are flowers, and each flower is a conversation, right? Except each flower is like a little mini Jack and the Beanstalk in that it's always growing, right? And upward is the dimension of time. So it's growing upward in time. And so and around the flower, and when I say a flower is a conversation, like this meeting, the Solution Club that meets every Tuesday for 8 hours, is is a periodic conversation. So it happens once a week, for a certain number of hours, and then it is not happening for the rest of the hours of that week. So just imagine this flower going up, and as it's going up, it's leaving behind this data exhaust, this data fire hose, right, that we've been talking about. The transcript is the most readily dealt with, and we have, of course, very good transcription technology, as everyone's aware. I voice dictate so much stuff these days because it's just so good. It's just so reliable. And so with the transcripts, so now imagine, this massive meadow covered with literally millions of these flowers, millions of conversations, right? Some are weekly, some are monthly, some are daily, some are continuous, ongoing, right? Why not? And each of these flowers is at any given moment talking about one, or typically more than one, topic, right? And therein is kind of the first basic point of connectivity between these different flowers or conversations, being the toposphere, or the topology. Oh my goodness. She looks familiar. Welcome back, Denise. So
she teleported here.
And you look great. I mean, you look healed. You look just like you've done some amazing healing work. So congratulations.
I can go back to my room now.
Okay, very good. So imagine a taxonomy of topics, and in fact, it's probably easier if I just show a visual example. And please jump in with any questions or comments, anyone at any time. I'm going to screen share in a moment. I just wanted to get, okay. All right. So.
Well, my friend Douglas, while you're putting that up, my friend Douglas Engelbart, who made his life career about collaboration, would love what they're saying, because when you were talking about this, you're reminding me of, people may not know who he was. He's known as the inventor of the mouse, and he always hated that, but back in 1967, he did the Mother of All Demos. In that Mother of All Demos he had to put a server on the internet to first create the internet, because it existed in the military, but not as a linked worldwide thing. So he put that first server in so he could do the demo. In his demo, he showed sharing text with another person, writing a picture. But the interesting thing here is he did the first video conversation in that demo, and it reminds me of the first flower growing. From that petal came another petal, came another.
Dude, that is so inspiring. My goodness, I hadn't heard that story. Douglas Engelbart. I was born in 1968. So that is.
So 1 year after the demo.
Exactly. I was probably a secret love child of the demo. My parents probably saw it and got inspired. So anyway, here I am. Okay, so we're totally talking the same language here. I love it. And that's actually kind of our initial idea was, hey, let's start this one flower or two flowers, and then we can kind of help spawn other flowers. But then something happened. We went to bed one night, and we woke up the next morning, and there were flowers everywhere. That's the gift of the coronavirus, is that it grounded us all at home, where our way of connecting is now Zoom, right? And And then, you know, people are Zooming one-on-one. Well, hey, let me pull in, you know, Bradley and Susan. And next thing you know, 10 people are Zooming. That is the definition of a flower. It's nothing more than a Zoom video conference. It's nothing more and it's nothing less, because now it's spewing out this fire hose of data exhaust, right? With which we can do incredible things. So among them, so just imagine, just the simplest scenario is, let's say you've got, you know, 1 million flowers, 1 million conversations happening with whatever frequency and all that, but, you know, and they're generating their transcripts. Imagine that all those transcripts are indexed in real time. I mean, that's what Google does anyway for free. So basically just publish it on the web and Google will index it for you for free. And then you can do site-specific search wherever you published it. Let's say, oh, hey, my mom's calling. I got to take this. I will be back, but I got to talk to my mom for a few. I'll be back.
No, that's interesting. The data exhaust thing. I mean, when I made the reference to Douglas Engelbart, his vision was actually this, of everyone just connecting and collaborating and sharing on the internet. You know, and he would talk about that frequently. And then he was the inventor in that demo. He used the mouse to show how you could share drawing a picture together over the internet. And the thing was, is the walk away everyone had wasn't like collaboration over the internet. It was the mouse. So he was known as the inventor of the mouse, which just drove him nuts to the very end. That's what everyone saw him for. And he was like, you don't get it. And it taught me a lesson, and was really, people can only grasp this little spot of tangibility. And maybe this, you know, we're now thrusted into this experience of now being able to, not like here in the Bay Area, there's a challenge of, you know, a lot of the cool, interesting discussions are happening in San Francisco, where it's expensive. I got to cross bridges, pay tolls, got to find parking, which is really hard. I have to plan an extra hour just to find parking. Then you park your car, you go to the talk, you come back, the window's broken. You know, it's a big deal to go to any of these topics in the city. And all of a sudden there's this freeing feeling. I can get into a lot of interesting conversations, and I can do it from my home without having my windshield broken. So this is a major revolution, at least not for the window companies, but yeah, so this was his vision to have humanity come together over the internet and share ideas and learn how to evolve and things like this. But then I'm always, that it might be frustrating. We might be seeing this and enlightened to this, but I wouldn't also be surprised if somebody walks away with the equivalent of, oh, you invented the mouse, or you learned how to use the mouse. But I mean, where data science comes in is that sometimes, and artists come in, is they can abstract from the enormity something as simple as the idea of the mouse, and then people can say, aha, I get it, we can make that next leap. Back to you, James. Damien, sorry.
Thank you. Here, I'm just going to pause for a second. Okay. So all these flowers are everywhere. And so if we could only search on this one portion of the data exhaust, the transcript, then wow, you know, I mean, because again, millions of conversations, we're envisioning the future here, but it's a future it's just so beckoning. I mean, now that all the flowers exist and all these conversations are happening, it's obvious that the next step is to connect them, because once we can get them all hyper connected through search, that's a form of connection, through mapping or connecting a given conversation with the topics that it's about, right? And then, you know, conversations that have topics in common, one or more, well, that's a connection by default right there. And there are many others, and Nolan and I have talked for countless dozens of hours about different scenarios with what we can do with. I mean, look what I'm doing with my hands right now, right? That's an indication that Jamin's expressing something that's important to him, right? Otherwise, I'd just be here going blah blah blah, whatever, right? And so on. So anyway, that's why it's a fire hose of data exhaust. There's just so much. Go. Yes, please.
Oh, it's interesting, and when I've been involved with search for a long time, and it's fascinating listening to some of these. You know, there are all these. Search actually is really terrible right now. People may not realize there's really beautiful things it's doing, but it's also become very narrowing. So it through your data exhaust, it knows that, you know, they give you the directions to go home or the directions to there. You know, it's time for you to buy this. It stays very within a tight knit of your world and doesn't really show you the world outside of you. And at the same time, it doesn't show you. It learns all about you, but never shows you to you. And so you don't know that, you know, it's learned that, oh, you're having this problem, and it says, oh, let me show you this product. But it doesn't tell you you're having this problem. Let me connect you with resources that actually would tell you about that. So in search, we've learned how to capture video and do video search, both in object image recognition as well as text recognition or speech to text. But then we get into the whole the paradigms of search, and this is the thing. This is, I think, almost we need to have dialogues around the properties of search and the methodologies of search, and there's all sorts of different ways of clustering information. You know, and I've gone through a lot of philosophical and they're completely unresolved, but a lot of philosophical ideas around search. It went from Verity, which I still think is like the best email search engine that doesn't exist anymore. It was context based, so it really looked at the contextuality of your words with other words in the given document and gave weighting appropriate that. So when you're finding, it really pulled together things that were contextually relevant, which I thought was really excellent. And in an email, it was phenomenal. I didn't even need folders, because what do you need a folder for when you can just put in a search term and it gives you everything contextual with that search term? And that's not just words. It's like, you know, your sentence or so forth. Then there's statistical search, like autonomy, which doesn't exist anymore, which actually just says, you know, it doesn't matter language or anything. It can actually statistically figure out things are aligned. I actually never really felt that was a great search engine, but it was nice because I had this feeling like it felt so universal. It can statistically align any information, no matter what language or this and that, and we can build translation tables. And we thought, oh, this is the unifying search idea, and it basically made a unifying. I'm not finding what I'm looking for. So that there was that, and you know, Google came into the picture with link weighting based on people's behaviors. So it was really people, and this is where most of our search is going. Our semantic engines are about, we take human behavior and we just align everything with human behavior. As people take on a behavior, we just learn it and then cycle everyone into it. And that way it seems relevant to everyone. And it's what they're looking for. And that's actually worked fairly well, because oddly enough, we're not looking outside the box. We're always looking inside the box, and we're surprised when it already knows what we're looking for. You know, the suggested search, and unfortunately, it's reinforcing, because we see a search suggestion, and we're going close enough. It's a click, not a type, and we just type it and reinforce that model, and that's unfortunate. Then there's another aspect which which I wrote a book on, but it was like, it doesn't exist anymore. Geez, a lot of this stuff. So it was knowledge-based search. And I still really like this. And I think at the time when we first were really exploring it, it was problematic to do, but it was relevant. But people really were going in the direction they wanted link weighting. But but then really, I think we're at a point like where you're going with your talk, Jamin, is that there's all this knowledge going on out there, and we're going down this direction of knowledge. And then the question is, who knows about this? And so knowledge-based search is so you type in a search term, and instead of taking you to some abstract about that, or a list of abstracts about that, it takes you to a list of people who really know about that. And so that allows you to either bring their conversations in, you could bring their video YouTubes in, or their, you can then start reading their documents. But it allows you to make connections to people and then go from there, where it's really hard to go from there with a document, but with a person, you're saying, will you join my Zoom call? Will you, you can then start bringing the knowledge specialists into a closer alignment on something. And I think that at this time is actually very appealing. And I've been lately having thoughts of, it'd have to I can't even take the old software anymore. I got to recreate the whole thing, but recreating knowledge search, because I think we're at a point where knowledge search is relevant.
Totally. This is music to our ears, Stephen. Incredible. And Nolan, please jump in. Let's really make it a conversation. But the thing about finding the right people is really at the heart of the conversational domain. It's finding the right people, and it's finding the right conversations, right? Two different things. But they, with heavy overlap. And with this, with a rich conversational domain, with humanity engaged in a rich conversational domain, where at any given moment, there are literally millions of conversations happening right now. And chances are that, that thing, that idea you have, that inspiration, that thing that gets you out of bed in the morning that says, okay, now, wow, how do we do this? Chances are, if there's millions of conversations happening around the world, a number of those conversations are very, very close to either very close to what you're talking about, or extremely symbiotic with what you're talking about, or would greatly benefit from hearing about what you're talking about, or you would greatly benefit from hearing what they're talking about, because it would totally transform your idea, etc. See, right now, the people in this room constitute, a portion of this micro tribe on Earth of basically people like us who are having conversations like the one we're having right now about data exhaust and conversations and networks of conversations and people within those networks. So basically my model is, if each conversation is a flower and each of us are bumblebees, all of us become these, polyamorous bees that just go from flower to flower, from conversation to conversation. And at any given moment, the conversation at that moment consists of whatever bees are there on that flower. They might get together and in 5 minutes solve a problem that had been stymieing us for centuries. Because until you get that magical combination, right, of Stephen with an economist, a mathematician, a philosopher, someone with theological studies, and an electrician, until those 7 or 8 people got together, it's kind of like, like from Lord of the Rings, the sun has to be at this right angle for the keyhole to be visible. Well, each of us shines our perspectives on the problem. And it might be one of those, multi-number combination locks, right? Where click, 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 and each click is the tumbling of another barrier to the achievement of whatever goal you're trying to achieve, whether it's an analysis goal, a design goal, solving a problem, or whatever, right? I believe any problem can be broken down into a series of steps. And now imagine that instead of just one group of people trying to solve that problem, and whatever 7 or 8 people you got, that's what you got. And those 7 or 8 people are the ones who have to solve each and every one of those steps. Imagine that we were able to custom configure an assemblage of people for step number 1. Then once that's solved, boom, you're off to step number 2. And that might be a whole new assemblage of people. It might have 70% overlap with the ones who are working on step 1. Obviously, some overlap is important, especially if it's all bundled together. But I think you're getting my point, that no matter what the problem we're having, if we can break it down into steps, and for each step, if we have the optimal A team, you know, custom created on the fly. So now imagine it's kind of like each of us is strapped into our, you know, in this case, I'm on my back deck and, you know, hanging with you guys, but I'm plugged in. So I'm on my MacBook Pro. This is my portal to the collective super intelligence. And I have a bot who just specializes in Jamin Shively. So it's the Jamin bot. The bot follows me around everywhere and is not just mastering everything that I'm all about, but constantly cross-referencing me with the database of other humans and saying, all right, who should Jamin meet, right? And then maybe my bot talks with their bot and says, hey, you know, no, seriously, you know, while we're sleeping, I mean,
I went to Hollywood. My bot will speak to your bot, and we'll have lunch.
Exactly. My lawyer will talk to your lawyer, kind of thing. But I mean, and that was one of the inspirations of, I'm sure you're vastly familiar with GitHub. Well, we came up with BotHub, right? And it's really 2 things. One, it's the GitHub of bot software. But number 2, it's a great place for bots to connect and hang out, right? Right? Your human should meet my human. Well, great. Let's break out the calendars. You know, it's not like it costs them anything to have that conversation. It becomes like a cocktail party that with no time constraints. And yes, you get to talk with every other bot in the cocktail party. Anyway, you see what
bedazzled in that, you know. We'll see what your bot gets you into trouble for, you know.
Yeah, totally. And of course, you know, there's different flavors of bots. There's the bots that are very extroverted, where you basically say, look, I want to connect with lots of other people. Versus you could say, no, I'm going to dial down my bot. You know, like I know enough people already. Give me information. I just want to read, you know, whatever modality you want to be in. There's a bot for you. And so, you know, put all this together and it's just like, oh my God, you know, and given the fact that we now have the perfect conditions for this collective superintelligence to emerge. There's a quote that I'd love to read to you from the book by the title Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. There's a quote endorsing the book on the front of the book that simply says, I highly recommend this book. And the quote's from Bill Gates. Not my favorite person. I worked with him when I was at Microsoft. I was corporate strategy manager at Microsoft. I have tremendous respect for his intellect. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. But bottom line, love him or hate him, he is a tremendous student of AI, right? Anyway, within that book, there's this quote, and Nolan, if is it up on Radish? Anyway,
it is, yeah.
Okay, if you send me the link, I'll be happy to read it.
Sure.
And I'm really digging this conversation, Stephen. And Nolan will attest, it's very hard to tear me away from a call with my mom. So very hard.
That's good. That's an appropriate pause, you know. We're all here in a limited time, so.
No, but what I'm saying is normally I'd be on the phone with my mom even now, right? It's very seldom that I say, hey mom, can I call you back? Believe it or not, it's very, very seldom. Okay, so I got the link. Thanks, Nolan. Okay. All right, so here's the quote. But what of the seemingly more fanciful idea that the internet might one day wake up?
Who's this quote from again?
Nick Bostrom, the book Superintelligence. And Nolan put the link in the thing. It's got the title and author and everything. Even I think it's a link to the book or its website. But what of the seemingly more fanciful idea that the internet might one day wake up? Could the internet become something more than just the backbone of a loosely integrated collective superintelligence? Something more like a virtual skull housing an emerging unified superintellect. This was one of the ways that superintelligence could arise according to Vernor Vinge's influential 1993 essay, which coined the term technological singularity. Against this, one could object that machine intelligence is hard enough to achieve through arduous engineering, and that it is incredible to suppose that it will arise spontaneously. However, the story need not be that some future version of the internet suddenly becomes superintelligence by mere happenstance. A more plausible version of the scenario would be that the internet accumulates improvements through the work of many people over many years, work to engineer better search and information filtering algorithms, more powerful data representation formats, more capable autonomous software agents, and more efficient protocols governing the interactions between such bots, think BotHub, and that myriad incremental improvements eventually create the basis for some more unified form of web intelligence. It seems at least conceivable that such a web-based cognitive system, super saturated with computer power and all other resources needed for explosive growth, save for one crucial ingredient, could, when the final missing constituent is dropped into the cauldron, blaze up with superintelligence. And we believe that that crucial missing ingredient is at hand, and that it is precisely something of which perhaps the biggest component is this thing that we're talking about, the conversational domain, but expanded out, and it covers the conversational domain, connecting people, yada, yada, yada. The domain of taxonomies, and oh, that's right, I was going to screen share and show a taxonomy, and then we got interrupted with something. Oh, that's right, I think like my mom called at that moment or something. But anyway, the realm of taxonomies, which I'll get to, and then the final realm is what we refer to as the solution engine, and it has various parts. But basically, the progression is, as I see it, is really just as we described. Now, within the solution engine, a subset of the solution engine is what I refer to as the global holistic model, which I talked about before. And yes, I totally get the challenges to trying to model the whole world, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take it on and learn from it and evolve it as we go. Any model can teach you something, but the big idea, and I know I'm kind of meandering here. Hopefully,
I think you're in it with the correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry if I'm interjecting.
No. I love it. I love it. Go.
But I mean, science is just the warehousing of knowledge, and we've been warehousing knowledge about our world quite a bit to the depth of the ocean, the Mariana Trench, all the way up to the top of the mountains. We're capturing life, studying since of all what it is these are static forms. And I think what you're saying is, what if we could connect all these static forms of knowledge into a database, so to speak, that allows us to have an interactive live reaction to all these things that we've already learned. Is that a correct statement?
It sounds great. I hadn't thought of it in those terms, but no matter how you slice it, collective superintelligence is just this massively multidimensional hyperobject, and so there's so many different facets to it. We've kind of been focused on certain facets, but there's no end to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. My friend Brewster Kahle He, you know, he's been in the AI world a long time. He's the one who created Alexia, and he started an AI back at MIT with Marvin Minsky. But but it was interesting when he started Alexia. He also started InternetArchive.org, and Brewster's always loved libraries his entire life. He has a fetish about libraries, and when he created them both as two entities, separate but equal in a way. They were, but there was his idea was he's launching an AI form that was going to learn about us, learn the language, learn and grow in his imagination to a self-aware being. And then he left that and went to Archive. Archive is the library of knowledge. So he was doing captures of the internet every night. So doing a full capture of the internet and just trying to be that warehouse of knowledge, of online knowledge. And it's very clever to think, because he doesn't know how or when the being will awake, but he'll be sitting as a librarian in the library of knowledge, waiting for it to show up. And then he knows it's come alive, because he'll see it in his reaching for all this data about everything we know. and that's, he'll recognize this is a different life form that he's dealing with.
Wow. You know, I actually worked a bit in AI back in the 90s of all times, and worked with Dr. Lawrence Fogel, who is the inventor of evolutionary programming, similar to genetic algorithms, but also radically different. So all that is to say, I know a bit about AI, and I know there's way more to know than I'll ever know. But the AI that we are contemplating using for the conversational domain literally could have been written back in the 90s. I mean, it's just kind of simple AI. It's nowhere near strong AI, right? It's just, you know, the stuff that AI is finds easy, just, you know, pattern recognition, right? And, you know, finding the pattern. What makes this a great conversation, right? You know, and yes, we've got things in common, but we're also sufficiently different that we can learn from each other, and da-da-da. You know, I could try to articulate it, but let the AI just discover it. It could have discovered it back in the 90s, right? And there's so many things that indicate quality of a conversation. Hey, Jamin's smiling, you know, etc. People are laughing. These are good indicators, right? You know, the AI will know the difference between a charity laugh and a real deep, heartfelt laugh, etc., etc. But anyway, all that is to say is that we don't need very powerful AI in order to really make this engine of a conversational domain purr. And the real point I'm trying to make there is that the actual real superintelligence resides within us and between us in conversation, right? There's an intelligence that's coming out of Jamin that can only come out of Jamin in combination with the rest of us in this meeting, right? Because you're pulling it out of me and we're co-creating it together, and it's, you know, we're like a great combination of a quarterback and a wide receiver, right? It's the combination where the magic is. So anyway, all that is to say is that the actual collective superintelligence is extremely human, and the technology is, I was about to say, this is unfair, but all but incidental, right? In fact, another way of thinking about it is, imagine we took a million really dialed in people, of which we are representative of this, you know, equivalence class, not equivalence class, but this class of really dialed in people, right? That undefinable combination or a mashup between intelligence, creativity, insight, passion, commitment, discipline, whatever, okay? Imagine you take the most million dialed in people on earth and you put us in some walled city where there's, tens of thousands of different rooms, right? Some big, some small. And within each room, there are conversations happening. And maybe on the door outside of the room, you post what you were talking about earlier. You pin kind of the agenda and maybe some updates, an evolving synthesis, something like that. And people just kind of get to know through basic social networking. No technology. This could happen. This could have happened 10,000 years ago, right? But with zero technology, just bringing us together and having us combine and recombine in these different flowering conversations, right? Sure, technology greatly facilitates us. And since we're not in one big walled city where a million of us can just get together and jam, we use the technology. So again, I said it's unfair that it's to say that it's all but incidental. That's totally unfair, because especially if you consider the different scenarios that we can turbocharge with the technology. But I make the example of the walled city to make a point. We could have collective superintelligence with zero ICT, zero information and communication technologies, just paper and pencil and the walled city and enough, basically enough food so that the million folks can keep going. But I make that extreme comparison to make the point that the collective superintelligence is human. It's not AI. Right.
It's a funny thing. I used to have a statement. It was a spin off of a previous thing, and it's don't take it personally. It's supposed to be funny. There was the saying if you put enough monkeys in a room with typewriters, eventually you'll end up with Shakespeare, and then I would my follow up to that is if you put enough Shakespeares in a room with typewriters, then eventually we'll end up with a lot of monkey poo. Sometimes these formulas don't always add up the way they are, but you're 100% right. We had all, everything we had in the means you could have done. It's the assembly, but what I keep finding, and that's where I brought up the aspect of the mouse, Douglas Engelbart introduced the concept of interacting over the internet, along with the video chat and everything. He just laid it out there. Computers at that time were only for numbers. No one typed in a computer. Nobody had a computer. And here all of a sudden he's demonstrating the sharing over the internet, and their phenomenal was, I can communicate with a computer with a mouse instead of a keyboard. It doesn't require math. I can draw a picture. That was blew their minds, and that was the whole thing, and they completely missed the whole point of the presentation. And it takes a cultural liptus point for each evolution to happen for what you're talking about, the walled environment. Where this virus has caused essentially a cultural shift. So now we're all brought up into a commonality. We've been stepping through the tools. The tools literally did exist back in 1967, but nobody had them, and nobody knew how to use them, and nobody had the idea what you use it for, or nobody had the concept how to host it, or all those aspects. So in the decades to follow, literally the half a century to follow, we've been growing in these things. So now we're at the liptus point where a lot of society has the internet, and Elon Musk is about to give everyone internet. You're in the middle of the bush, you're going to get internet. And then, computers are cheaper. We can make these computers, $30 if we really wanted to. So now we've eliminated barriers of access, and now it's about what do we do with that. And I think it's to your point in the collective knowledge is there's a lot of how do we parlay the activity into a productive output. What do we do with this new culture? And that's, I think, an interesting question, and one that's fairly open. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, part of our inspiration for collective superintelligence was the burning needs of the planet and of humanity, the burning problems, and so we evolved a distinct solution focus, and that's why the culmination. So there's the conversational domain, which actually permeates all domains. It doesn't just stay there, right? But that's the starting point, and we're in it right now. Welcome to the conversational domain. And then out of the conversational domain, as it evolves and grows, it evolves, it co-evolves a what we call a Wixonomy, a concept I developed when I was at Microsoft, which is a mashup between wiki and taxonomy. And it's essentially like a GitHub of taxonomies, where you can modify them, branch them, add to them, recombine them, do whatever you want. And so through the use of taxonomies, we get more structured and more organized tentacles for connecting people with conversations and people with other people, because now we have a common language. It's the taxonomic, taxonomy maps of topics, which again, here's a conversation, great. Which topics is it about, right? And and then we have a whole framework around the concept of a whole world, and then breaking it down into its subtopics and subtopics, all the way down to, in one perspective, the needs of a whole world, all the way down to, if you look at it as an upside down tree, the leaf node needs of a whole world. And then how do we systematically go about meeting each and every one of the needs of a whole world, and in the process solving its problems, like the need to be cool solves the problem of overheating, right? And so how do we meet each and every one of those needs, applying different stages of what we call the solution engine? It culminates in the collective intelligence facilitated by conversations, but now using other structures that are very much a part of the solution engine. Structures like brain swarming, which we can talk about later probably. Structures like a GitHub for solutions, not just a GitHub for software, but a GitHub for solutions more generally. Global holistic modeling to model different combinations of solutions on top of, a substrate of, this is the default model of the world, or this is, just a simulator of the world. And then adding an optimization layer around that model enables, now that's the kind of use of AI that I worked with back in the 90s, how do we find the optimal set of solutions, instead of manually trying different combinations, let the AI find the optimal set through,
Yeah, this is a little bit reminding me, we used to auto-generate taxonomies, and they never really hit home. and there is a beauty of organically developed taxonomies, though it's quite a painful process, and a lot of reiteration. But if you're really looking at the two extremes, you really start to appreciate the importance of culture and creating and finding common culture or common cross-cultural points to bring people together in understanding categorizations, and that's so there's a very artistic aspect around the creation of taxonomies that I think it's underappreciated, that this has that title, that label has to trigger or mean something within a person, and to draw them into that branch, and if you're a cybrarian, to know what that is really, really difficult. And this is in the medical area, they deal with a lot of made up words. And it seems so made up from the person who made it up. But yet they have to get people, but what illness or things that it's aligned to is quite puzzling to understand which taxonomical branch going. So then they have to bring in disciplines like education and so forth to brief you on the meaning of these arbitrary terms. But, you know, and yet humanity is, all the variety of humanity will resist a common education. And so, yeah, it's those conflicts are very interesting problems before you even get to, as you create the taxonomy, or, you know, that, and you're almost at the point when you're talking, I'm hearing instant taxonomy, you know, just add water. Yeah, and I think we need to appreciate the challenge of these things, and that's where I came back with the Verity search, where it really, what's the point of taxonomy when you can actually have this engine understand the relationships of the content and just abstractly pull it together depending whatever term you stick in there. It was not anticipating based on link weighting. It wasn't, there was no anticipation at all. What there was the subject matter expert would do tagging in their content to improve the contextualness of their ending. Now it can be done without tagging, but that boosts its ability. But you politically may say, I want it fair. I don't want anyone gaming the engine. The engine will just do what it does, and we'll end up where we end up. But maybe we need more dynamic taxonomies that are culturally relevant, and we need this abstraction layer that can do some translation to that. And so that's just the view of taxonomies and the challenge with them. I'm done.
I love it. And in fact, you know, like the Jamin bot would essentially form dynamically in an evolving way. What is Jamin's taxonomy of knowledge? What does Jamin know, right? Listen to Jamin talk and read what he writes, and you can discern what he knows, or at least a model of that. And then let's say that you got the Stephen bot and the Jamin bot, and Jamin and Stephen are talking with each other. And as we're talking with each other, I might be like, hey, Stephen, I want to tell you about something. And you might say, well, I already know about that. Or you might say, no, oh, tell me. And then my bot can say, aha, or our bots can talk with each other, better still, and come up with a model of what Jamin knows, what Stephen knows, what Jamin thinks Stephen knows, what Stephen thinks Jamin knows. Right, kind of like mirror neurons that are specialized for taxonomies, and you know, therefore, as they talk, they each help each other fill in missing pieces in each other's taxonomy until there's enough commonality, right? That there's a shared taxonomy. This is what Jamin and Stephen agree to, right? And then, of course, that shared taxonomy is a great foundation or platform for more elevated conversations. Now bring together 8 or 10 of us. What's the shared taxonomy? What are the areas of disagreement, right? Et cetera. And anyway, there's just so much rich potential here for mapping all this stuff out.
So your algorithm would include if, then, else, agree, disagree? I would agree to disagree. I need to state that joke better.
Disagree here, but here is where it would be really productive for us to focus on, right? Like, you know, and anyway, and this is probably getting beyond my pay grade, but you know, where do you go from there, right? In terms of, and one of the interesting areas is, as these bots study conversations, the bots in the AI are just going to be fascinated, just studying the patterns of why did this bumblebee go from this flower to this other flower, and you know, what did he, you know, and just seeing how conversations evolve, and if they become just argumentative, that it's just totally counterproductive, or co-creative. Wow, you know, what were the patterns? What What gave rise to that? What are the conditions that are supportive of co-creativity?
What does the value of your emotions have to do with your solution capability?
Exactly, right? Because let's face it, if there was some asshole in the room, and that's a technical term, by the way, and I point to the book, The No Asshole Rule, written by that Stanford professor.
Yeah, I know him. He was a real asshole.
Oh, it takes one to know one.
Takes one to know one.
Anyway, if there were an asshole in the room who were just like interrupting and just typing poisonous shit into the chat window and looking at you weird, you know, let's face it, we wouldn't be as productive as we are now, right? And one of the reasons we're being productive now is because there is harmony, right? There's enough commonality, and there is willingness to go there, be vulnerable with what we know, with what we don't know, vulnerable and generous with what we know, vulnerable with what we don't know, so that, you know, the others can help fill in the gaps. And of course, you know, it's nice to be talking with people with whom you're in roughly a similar wavelength or a complementary wavelength, right?
It's
Anyway,
really challenging. You know, it was a conversation I had with a Native American man who was Washua, I mean, and he was in the conversation. He's explaining these things and something, and he was kind of fumbling with some of the words he was trying to say, and I was just thinking, I was throwing some words out that just help them, you know, to assist in the conversation. And he goes, you know, Steve, English is not my first language. He says, English is a very funny language. It's a language of images, and we always see the images can lie. And my language is a language of feelings. And in my language, when I feel you and you can feel me, we can trust each other. And it was an interesting divergent, because I really very interested in this idea of emotional search, of you know, when working with the Stanford professor we were looking at her company, she was creating bots. She was very early in the bot world, but her bots could understand emotional context of words. So she was designing emotional bots. And it was important because you can say the same thing and it has many different meanings. You know, you could be sarcastic. You know, you can, you know, all these different ways, and our relationship of, you know, our emotions, we're extracting it out of this other world, yet it's such a major part of our communication. And if I take that, a Native American man, he was like, you know, our foundation of trust is understanding that feeling, you know, and again, where I go to James, it's like, you know, the artist is helping us sculpt our interface for that thing called feeling, that gets us closer to being able to feel and trust each other. And so we would create these bots, but without somehow eliciting into that world, that nefarious world of feelings. How are these bots? This bot may actually introduce you to an asshole who's hardly sarcastic, but saying everything you'd want to hear. And then you'd criticize your bot and go back to do what you're doing.
exactly, and your bot would learn from that and say, thank you very much. Okay.
It does not have the capability of emotion. How will it learn? So if your bot does not know emotion, it does not know how to speak that language.
Yes, but it is able to measure pixels of defined by my smile, angle of smile, you know, tonality of voice, you know, eyebrows, everything that, you know, look, you can look at me and you can say Jamin's happy or Jamin's frustrated or Jamin's sad or Jamin's, you know, thinking of something else or whatever. Right. You can detect it. The AI can detect it, because it's just a matter of enough data exhaust and enough, you know, we can train it. You know,
it's training, and some done research in saying that it actually is better than humans at determining someone's emotion.
Yeah.
I have when looking at emotion mapping, my problem with the emotion mapping paradigms, there's about 7 of them, and all the professors that created each of the 7 declared that they would have it if they could agree to use the same paradigm, except none of the 7 agree. The interesting thing is it's a very common engineering problem when it comes to humans and things. So as a researcher, you need to develop your taxonomy, find unification around your taxonomy, then you do your study and you load your information into that taxonomy. In the case of trying to describe a person's emotions, what the professor feels is an assignment of a name or a category to an emotion is to their means of organizing their research life, but it has no meaning to you understanding your emotions. It is not actually an accurate description. And when I thought about this, it'd make more sense to have someone just record the sound and motion and it as a 4-dimensional amorphous whatever, being sound, motion, postures, all these things, and then put it up there and with everyone else's and see where the clusters are. And that cluster, whatever exudes out of that cluster, is the actual accurate label, be it if it's not really a text label, but a label for what that emotion is versus what some researcher or IT guy has decided should get that label because it helps organize their world. And that's I think really a common problem when you're a designer and an engineer. Or being in the government, you do things for your convenience, but that's not necessarily convenient for the recipient of it or the endpoint of that. That's it was for the and as a designer we constantly and this is the big revolution Steve Jobs brought in with experience design. He was going for the experience, not the technology, so to speak. But yeah, when we talk about these solutions and bringing these solutions together, I think you really have to have elements or facets within it that really address the outcome of the end experience, and language around that. And I don't think we're our tools are just not there yet.
Totally. But our tools can evolve and can co-evolve with the collective superintelligence itself, right? So
but we do have to be careful because that is like a chicken and the egg thing. Because with large amounts of people, like I guess I have a little bit of a problem with the walled city example that you brought up earlier, Jamin, because the million people are going to congregate in certain ways, and they're not just going to go around in every possible combination. And even if they did that, it's not like everybody automatically absorbs all the knowledge from everyone. And so that line of thinking makes me like, I guess I would not lean. I don't lean the same way, like Jamin, you were saying. Basically, we don't need strong AI to really make collective superintelligence highly effective. But I don't know. I think it's pretty integral to pulling it off. I mean, I guess I visualize this like I visualize a single point or that everyone can come to from all angles, and like whatever is coming out at you, it does not have to be a it's not a purely human thing. There can be however much augmentation by artificial intelligence in that process of feeding you, so to speak. Like YouTube is doing this in a way just by the recommendation algorithms. But Jamin and I have talked about bots to represent you in conversation. You could think about that just abstractly. There's all different kinds of conversation, but I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of derailing this.
I don't think you're derailing it. I think it's a very difficult topic area you're taking on. It's definitely a gap I think I hear you addressing, but it's not. And in all the scenarios, I do feel the reflex in my mind is the statement of John Lennon, life happens while you're busy making plans. And one of the discussions in the AI circle is about, AI is happening while we're trying to build it. It is an autonomous life form. And we look at that when you look at nature and you say, is sentient life form possible? And we go say, well, if we call ourselves that, then therefore it is. Then the next thing is, do we already have it? Does it already exist? So, I mean, in nature, is it possible to fly? Well, we see a bird, it's possible to fly. So we're at that stage. But then when we're in the AI field, we're looking at, is an autonomous life form, can we create an autonomous life form? And then we look at the corporation, an entity that has already claimed itself personhood. It's a hybrid. So we've automated, I use automated intelligence. That's what stage we're at. We're in automated intelligence. We're just automating certain thoughts. And where you're going is more down the path of these bots, where we're downloading ourselves into these bots. And this is this container that is us that's going to negotiate on our behalf, but it's not us. It doesn't have all the things to really attribute us. But as we look at the corporation becoming an autonomous being, it's becoming that super being. And we don't even recognize it. And bit by bit, it's converting the humans to be machine-like. So a CEO may, promise not to do terrible things. They promise to do no evil. And next thing you know, they're doing evil. do fiduciary responsibility. They're now tied. They've been converted to the machine, and we outside drive them deep in the machine because we tell them how horrible they are a person. They are defending the machine, and they go deeper in. But yet they're that in the hybrid being, they're that human dynamic element until the machine figures out how to substitute that. And so in some ways we're in that conflict. Now we're asking bots to interact on our behalf, and we're trying to download this. And you're talking about AI being, the predictive AI, which basically says, you want this, so I'll give you that, give you more of that. But now is it autonomous? Can it really autonomously act on our behalf? And I now definitely not. But what does it take to download ourselves? But then there's a real question, are our intents healthy? in general, and are we going down this path anyway, but we're unconsciously going down this path, and all our intents are driving it, yet we're not self-aware of our intents, and should we go? And I just went off onto a digress there, but that I think was in the ballpark of where you were at. I'm not sure.
That definitely resonates with me, and some of the stuff I've been thinking about, especially the past year, but don't have the best words to articulate it. Very little experience in technology myself. Like I studied for a few years, computer science, and I have some friends in the field, and they've shown me some really incredible stuff having to do with machine learning and some methods that I guess are just now becoming popular. But so I get enough from especially this one guy in particular that it just it really gets my gears turning. And yeah, there's a huge gap, like you're saying.
Well, I think I actually have to step out. There's other things I got to shift on to. I want to say this is very, very fun. This is very enjoyable. And I'll look into the Radish and see what else is going on. And hopefully we'll be in conversation again.
Very much look forward to it. Love meeting you, Stephen. Love this conversation. Look forward to it continuing. We got the block party every Friday, Saturday, 24 hours. You can pop in, pop out whenever you feel like it. And then the Tuesday meetings from 11 a.m. Pacific time to 7 p.m.
Great. Thank you very much. Everyone have a beautiful evening.
You too, Stephen.
Thank you. You too.
See you soon. Take care. And Nancy, looks like you need to sign off. Would you like any last words, Nancy? Go ahead. You got the microphone.
Yeah, I've been busy running around, and then I talked to my mom, so I actually missed quite a bit of the recent conversations, but I wanted to sign off and say thank you so much. And you know, when things get challenging and difficult, that's when we really need to work on forging ahead, not backing away because there's some discomfort. I mean, I think tension is natural, and it's just like anything else, kind of like money, it's how you handle it. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. And go vegan, everybody.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you, Nancy. Bless you. Have a good night. See you soon.
How do I sign out of here?
Lower right, there should be a button, leave meeting.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Oh, there it is on the top. Okay.
Yeah, lads, it's 3:15 in the morning here for me anyway, so.
Oh my goodness. Jay.
I'm a little shattered.
Yeah. Well, I'm operating on 2 hours of sleep last night and got up at 4 in the morning and went to the mainland. And anyway, so I'm pretty fried myself. I'm so glad to see you, James. I'm so glad that we are so closely connected. I mean, we are forming this core community that's making this happen. That's making our part of it happen, right? Which we think is a pretty important part. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but we think it is. All right, and that's what's important to us right now. So anyway, I'm so happy you're a part of it. Stephanie as well, Kevin as well, Natalie, Eddie, all the great people that you've been inviting. And so thank you so much. Really
No,
appreciate
no problem, Jamin. It's always been a pleasure, man. And you know, I get as much out of this as you're getting out of it, as the same as everybody's getting out of it. So, you know, it's a pleasure, and then hopefully there'll be more join eventually from here, like on my side. You know what I mean? As the weeks go on.
Yeah.
But you too, Nolan. Hang on, you did well there tonight, and sharing the conversation tonight and everything. So well done.
Thank you.
know, good to hear you with more input anyway. Like, you know what I mean? You're well able to speak. You underestimate yourself too. So
I appreciate your words of support.
no problem. And good night to Emery as well. There, I didn't, you know, wasn't sure whether he was awake or what, but I see his message. So I'm going to leave you go.
Oh,
and,
he is awake.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you go, and I'll talk to you anyway on Friday. All right.
All right, James. Look forward to it.
Sleep well.
Take care.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.
See you soon. Thanks. All righty. And, you know, it's interesting, Emery, since you've been in listening mode today, that's a very powerful place to stand, right? Because you're just listening. And much more to explore about that modality. In fact, I think it's an underexplored modality in my world anyway. So whether you're Emery here in this video conference listening in, or whether you're somebody sitting at home watching an episode of Joe Rogan from 2 weeks ago, you're in listening mode, right? Anyway, that's just it. For one thing, it's a very common modality, so there's a lot, I think, that can be harnessed from that, right? As well as our, for lack of a better word, our core modality of the Zoom video conference, coupled with the other things that we've been working with, but really centered around the video conferencing. So anyway, listening mode for today, but much of the time, gotcha. Yeah, good stuff. Whew. How you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. I got pretty exhausted from the beginning was rough, and yeah, it's not fun.
Let me chime in. Guys, I didn't feel like talking much today. Kind of under the weather, but listening intently, you know, and you know, Stephen was brilliant. Hope to hear much more of him, I'm sure. And you know, I've been staying okay. Still on my Tylenols, getting a little bit better. Hopefully. I've been doing a few things on the computer here, making a couple of videos, and just managing the page a little bit, you know, from time to time, the Zoom thing, and you know, just hanging tight for now. Be gathering my strength for Friday. Hope to be there.
Awesome, Emery. It wouldn't be the same without you.
Anyway, we'll sign off for now.
All right, Emery.
You guys take care. Much love.
You too. Love you, bro. See you soon.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.